Did you have to care for your aged parents?
Yeah, we did. Dick's mom and dad.
Well, they were self-sufficient on Diamond Bridge Ave. I would just stop in on every Saturday and see if I could shop for them or do any work around for them. Dad had physical problems, but he had physical problems for a long time, and he was getting older. But Mom was tough. Mom was able to do a whole lot of things. The parent we cared for the most
Was my
your
mom, was Nana.
Want to explain that?
And she came to live with us, and for about 5 years she lived with us. And most of those years that she didn't know that she was living with us. I know that you guys used to think that it would be nice if she came to live with us long before she did, when she was physically and mentally well, before her dementia set in, because she was fun. She'd always make us laugh, and Scott or Gary and Dad would go and pick her up every evening, and we'd have dinner together, and then somebody would bring her home again. But then eventually she wasn't unable to care for herself anymore, and she did come to live with us. And those were our 5 years of tears. That's what I call them, our years of tears, that we put our life on hold to take care of Nana. And we had many people come in and out the house through the course of a week to help us care for her. It was a difficult time, and it was a time where my eyes would go off of the hope of the Lord, and I would just think all these medicines that they gave us to stop Nana from talking would work. She would talk sometimes 24 hours a day, day after day after day, and nothing would stop her. And as I look back now, I grew through that experience. Daddy was very patient and understanding through that time. And Aunt Lois was a big help. She would be there, and Big John's mom, she would watch, and Nettie, you probably all remember these names, Mildred. People came and went and cared and loved us, and we were grateful for that.
Did you still have the children at home when your mother lived with you?
Gary lived at home, and his room was right underneath. Yeah, well, Scott was there as well. But Gary's room was right underneath Nana's room, and Nana would talk during the night, and I would hear her. So I'd go downstairs and I'd go, "Mom," and she'd say, "What?" Loud. I'd say, "You're waking Gary up." "Oh, okay." And she'd go back and start talking again. So it turns out that it wasn't Nana that was keeping Gary awake, it was me. And every time I'd go down there and say, "Mom," and she'd go, "Yeah."
He got used to
He got used to Nana. He
yeah.
could sleep through that. But it was me. I was waking him up as well. So eventually, Gary, I know that you moved out and you got your own apartment. And one day, in the quietness of a morning, I went down to look at Nana, and I gave her a little bit of juice, and I ran out and did the horse, and came back in, and she was beginning to turn, her color was beginning to turn, and within a couple of 2 hours, she was home with the Lord. So it was a beautiful homegoing. It was a tough 5 years, but it was a beautiful homegoing. And actually, your dad, he went home pretty much the same way.
Yeah, well, a little story with Nana. The last time I had a full sentence from her was probably about 6 months before she passed away. I come downstairs. We had put a bedroom downstairs in the front room for her. She peeked out. She said, "Hey, did you pay my daughter your rent yet?" I said, "Yeah, Mom, I did," and I went off to work. But that was the last full sentence I got from her. And speaking of my dad, he was around the house in his pajamas a lot, because he really wasn't able, probably the last 6 months, to do too much of anything. And I'd walk in Saturday morning and go in. Mom would be sitting in the living room with a cup of coffee and reading her paper. "Hi, Mom, how's things going?" "Okay." "Well, where's Dad at?" "Well, Dad was just here. He had some juice, and he just went in to lay down." Because we had made the dining room into his bedroom, and we had built a bathroom right off of that, so he wouldn't have to go up and downstairs. And I went in to see him, and he was just laying on the bed. He just died. I think if I shouted at him, he might have come quick. I don't know. He was still warm.
Yeah.
Rigor mortis hadn't stood. He must have just died a minute or two before I walked in. So I had to go out and tell Mom that he was gone. And of course she was all broken up because what she wanted to do was be with him when he went. And all this time that she had spent with him, he went in and just laid down and passed away. But it was quiet. At least he didn't suffer.
He didn't. But a little side note to that is, Scott, that Grandpa Luscher died on the day that we were taking you to see the big trucks at the Meadowlands, the big giant trucks that make all that noise. And I know you were looking so forward to going there. And do you remember who took you? Joe Oliveri.
Yep.
I called Linda and I asked
And he's
Linda.
still here in the trucks.
And you know what a quiet soul Joe is. And he loved you, Scott. And he loved us and does, because he's still here, thank God. And he took you to see the monster trucks that day that Grandpa Luscher had passed on.